we got word the other day that San Diego Comic-Con, for a second year in a row, is being kind of canceled, more delayed than it is canceled. Here in this article from Variety, they go on to say that there will be a virtual portion. Instead of it being 4 days, they're going to limit it down to 3 days. They're having budgetary constraints. Having to cancel Comic-Con, and keep in mind, it's a non-profit organization. So it's not like they're sitting on mounds of cash. That's fine. We'll cancel it this year. And we'll cancel it next year. We'll be fine. They're not that fine, you guys. So they are planning a virtual 3-day event in July around the dates that Comic-Con normally would be held. But then they're also planning on doing an in-person event in November. The November thing is still tentative. I mean, yes, they've confirmed it, but it's still, TBD a little bit. Hey, hold on your horses for a second. Natalie, I have put, I've kind of reached out to some of our friends, and I also put a blast out on a Facebook page, on a Comic-Con Facebook page, and I got lambasted hard for it, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're hating on Comic-Con." I'm like, no, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, when you're not around fandom for a while.
We're very sensitive about this situation, okay? It's very sensitive.
Man, I love fandom, but I forgot how toxic fandom can be, and how people are like, "Grr." Anyway, there was a lot of people that didn't want to send me a video, but I've put together a short list of some of our friends. They did send me in some videos to kind of let us know their thoughts and their sadnesses when it comes to Comic-Con. So first up, here's tomorrow's guest, Dr. Ashley Lawrence.
My heart hurts. Comic-Con canceled, but we'll pay any money for November.
How do I feel about Comic-Con being canceled? It's fine. This is fine. We don't get to do things anymore. That's just the world we live in. It's fine. We're fine. We're all fine.
The thing I'm going to miss about Comic-Con this year are the people, all the people that I meet in line, and I make new friends each year. And then also the people that I meet in the small creative panels. Those are my favorite to go to. The big ones are always exciting, but the small ones is where the good new ideas are shared. I miss you, Comic-Con.
Hi, I'm Tara, and my first San Diego Comic-Con was 12 years ago. It was a bit of a lark. I was living in Southern California at the time, and I'd heard about it and just thought, hey, it's in my backyard. Let's go check out this thing. Pretty convinced it was a one and done kind of thing. I'd check it off the list and move on. But I will never forget sitting in the Ballroom 20 line, waiting for the Firefly Anniversary panel and looking around at everybody who was waiting with me and just having that warm fuzzy of knowing that I was with my people. And ever since then, I knew that if I could be at Comic-Con, I would be at Comic-Con. So that's what makes me the most sad about it not happening again this year, is not getting a chance to see my friends that I only get to see at Comic-Con, or to meet any of the amazing new people that I always meet. But I'm also an event planner by profession, and in a normal year, my company exhibits at about 50 conferences. So I have some great empathy for the folks at the Comic-Con organization and all the stress that they've had to endure to kind of navigate this situation and make the decision. I am really grateful that they made it this early so that we don't have to bite our fingernails for the next few months. But I'm also really looking forward to when I can celebrate my 10-year live Comic-Con anniversary. Hopefully 2022.
All right, Natalie, those were our friends. Some in our Con Air cosplay group that we cosplay together with, and some just some of our other con friends. Tara brings up a really interesting point. As kind of a festival producer herself, an event planner, you need, of course, you need to cancel Comic-Con. It's in the world that we live in right now. Comic-Con, let's not kid ourselves, would be the super spreader of all super spreader events, period.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And I used to work down in the San Diego Convention Center area. I worked there in one of the hotels as a contractor for God, like three years, I think. And being there during Comic-Con, it was such an exciting event. It like the energy of that week was just like the staff at all the hotels, like everyone's just excited. They're busy, but excited. But the other thing though is I don't think most people realize just how much planning goes into events like that. It's weeks and months of endless planning, and I only saw like one little bit of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the idea of doing Comic-Con in July would have given us a watered down Comic-Con, or one that was severely restricted.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about this earlier, like how does Comic-Con even rebound from that? How do you take the 135,000 or so whatever badges that you sold in 2019 in anticipation of
Yeah.
2020,
Yeah.
and how do you like, okay, only 30% of you could go? That's a death match I do not want to be
Oh
in.
man. Well, I mean, you and I were both attendees at Comic-Con when there was do you remember the whole Hall H kerfuffle? There was a whole thing where like one of the security guards let in 200 of his friends, or like he like somehow illegally let 200 people in, and then there just weren't room for people who had been standing in line who actually got the legit wristband to say no, I stood in line.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing. It just that was 2019, right?
Yeah, and I also kind of remember that because the director of PR at Comic-Con International, David Glanzer, or it might have been Eddie Abraham, who's the director of events. One of them went out to the crowd and kind of reassured the mob, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that hey, this is a mistake. We're gonna make sure that this never happens again. I'm so sorry, you guys. But the good news is all of you get free 5-day passes to Comic-Con 2020. And we're like, yay!
Oh
Oh
man.
no.
Oh man. Yeah, what
What if they come back? They're still outside at Hall H. Like those 200 people are like, you promised us.
Well, the same. I'm not that I'm in a similar situation, but like in terms of something carrying over to the next year, 2020 was supposed to be my last year as a professional, and then for this year, 2021, I would have had to reapply to get my professional status with Comic-Con, which professional status just essentially means you get a guaranteed badge. Everything else is a lottery. You have no idea if you're going to con or not. It's a huge lottery that happens within the span of what, 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
Oh
It's
yeah,
less
less than the heartbreak sets in around 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So my professional status will presumably carry over into 2022. I don't know how the November thing is going to change, but also Natalie, I want to get into what do we think virtual con this year is going to be like? Because last year was fine. It was okay. They slapped together a few things, but if DC Fandom and Marvel, like Disney's Investor Day meeting, was any kind of indication as to what kind of a virtual event that we could have. I mean, I remember last year, San Diego Comic-Con, they waited until the last possible minute before they canceled. And then they put on this virtual event it felt last minute slapped together with enough time to prepare. This is March, early March. They've got enough time to prepare like a really great event for July, a really great event. Do you think that they're actually going to follow through on something like what DC Fandom turned out to be, or what the Disney Investors Day meeting turned out to be? And do you think that is going to be an indication as to what November might be?
So I think that's a good point too. You did mention that Comic-Con is a nonprofit, so it's really hard to compare what they are capable of
Yeah.
financially to, the likes of Disney and Warner. But a lot of it does have to do with time. A lot of it does have to do with planning. I kind of did like some of the events last year that were virtual, like, for the first time I could actually like sit comfortably and listen to someone about, that was definitely one of the comments about, like those special little notes about the process of
Right.
filmmaking or comic writing or storytelling. Like those are really special things that I think they translated
Well, and
well
you're also
to
not like limited to time, because like when you're at Comic-Con,
exactly.
you only get to see one panel in this time slot, and you have to choose: am I going to be in Hall H? Am I going to be in Ballroom 20? Am I going to be in like one of the upstairs other things? And
Yeah. And then by the time I get there, is the line like 100 people out the door, and there's no, so that's happened so many times. But I wonder if moving forward, like let's look at Comic-Con 2021 or even this virtual, or not 2022. 2021 is done. Sorry, it's still sinking in. So look at Comic-Con 2022 or whatever this somewhat modified in-person event in November is going to be. I think they would be wise to do it partially virtually. Like, I think that
mm,
they should still have a live event. And then for the millions of people that don't get to go to Comic-Con, you have those virtual presentations that are marketed as like Comic-Con at home. And I think that that is something that could stick around. I think it would be extremely beneficial. And also, I think it would provide a gateway to so many people that have been like, oh, I could never go to Comic-Con. And, and then me, I've been 10 times and I feel like, oh, I'm so
well,
privileged.
yeah, because
But like,
that was always one of the things that was of uh not concern, but like just that people wanted, like, because it is Comic-Con is so popular that it is a lottery system. You have to be lucky enough to have your name drawn out of a hat, out of what, if one hat has like 10,000 names in it, you happen to be the one that gets pulled out, right?
mhm.
Of course, I'm just making those numbers up. Who knows? I can't remember what the odds actually are, but um, there's that. But also, after Virtual Con last year, it brought up those great points of like, we can, for an extra fee. Okay, granted, you didn't have your name selected out of the hat, but you can watch these virtual panels on like a, because there's ways to do like non-recording, so you don't record your screen, or like you can't have other people record your screen, or like there's ways to go about doing it, but have a legitimate pay $30, instead of paying like what,
Yeah, or
$4,000 for tickets, pay $30 to see
yeah,
like the live event.
yeah, or if it is, if there's a virtual portion, if I was Comic-Con and I was a fundraiser, what I'd be doing is, packaging the whole virtual thing to put it on for free and have it sponsored by Warner
Oh
Brothers or
yeah,
sponsored
Mountain
by
Dew.
whatever game company, and that's really how events like this are made. And I think it's an excellent opportunity to kind of package something up as like the virtual experience, and it can be on YouTube and it's free to everyone and it's brought to you by this sponsor. So I think that's definitely an interesting way to go. I'm really interested about what this November in-person event is going to be. I know it's going to be a lot smaller,
Yeah, we
and
have
I wonder,
not a lot of information
yeah,
about it.
no. And I wonder if they'll do it at the museum. Because, Comic-Con Museum is, some of you might be familiar with if you're following the Comic-Con organization, is they've been putting a lot of stock over the last 2 or 3 years into a Comic-Con museum in San Diego, which, or 2019, I think, was the first year they really utilized that space, I believe,
Yeah, that's
as
where they had
a
the like the big Batman installation.
exactly as a convention exclusive experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, me personally being a Comic-Con attendee, I'm excited to see how they utilize that in the future. I'm excited to see the inside of the building because it's not fully open yet. I think it's supposed to be finished later this year, I think. And I didn't get to fly through Gotham with Batman like the
That was
rest of
awesome.
you.
That was awesome. I will say, like, that space is kind of small for a convention, though.
I think it's gonna be smaller. I think it's going to be limited to however many people.
You mean like
And
a few hundred as opposed to a few thousand?
oh yeah, I mean that's conservative. I don't want to like get everyone's hopes up and then like quash them immediately. It might be something that's limited in that capacity, or maybe they do something in part of the convention center that's smaller. I can't imagine they would have the resources to do something big twice.
Right.
So, and also with the uncertainty of 2021, like we don't know with COVID restrictions where that's going to go in November. So I imagine that they're going to probably aim on the safer side and plan for a worst case scenario.
I think that's a smart way to go. Question for you guys is, what do you think 2021 Virtual Con is going to be like this year? What do you think the November Con is going to turn out to be? Do you think it's going to be on the smaller side? Do you think it's going to be intermediate? How do you think it's going to work? What is the selection process? How is Comic-Con International going to determine who gets to go and who doesn't? Is it going to be those 200?
Trial by combat. I definitely think trial by combat is the way to
Another
go.
Dark Crystal reference. I love it. I love it. Yeah, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Luke Skywalker would want you to do. Da 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 dun dun da 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 dun dun.